I am the ACRL past president, and I would like to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you who are here today to attend the kind of the question and answer session for discussion groups and interest groups today. I think at my next point now, I'm going to go ahead and do some introductions. So you've got myself here, Mary Ellen Davis, our ACRL fabulous executive director, and her staff. The next person we have, do we have anybody else on the line except for us, Mary Ellen?
Well, Elois Sharp is our
okay, I'm sorry, Elois.
You've all been speaking with Elois already.
Yes.
You will get to know Elois
Yes.
better if you need to schedule any virtual meetings or schedule any meetings or conferences. Elois manages all that very nimbly and calmly, even when it's all happening at the same time. So thank you, Elois.
Yes, thank you, Elois. Everyone, I'm like, everyone knows Elois, you know, but we couldn't do our work virtually without Elois. She's a great asset, and I hope that as you're doing your work virtually, that you'll reach out to her too if you need to set up meetings. And there's a lot more information about that later on in the presentation today. So the purpose of today is really to answer any outstanding questions that you might have. We're hoping that each of you were able to view the orientation session. We're using kind of a flipped classroom, and so this is an opportunity in areas maybe where there's a lack of clarity for answers to your questions, and we hope to make this fun today. And again, I know everyone is very busy, so thank you so much for taking the time today to be here with us, and I think we'll go ahead and kick this off then with Mary Ellen. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Cheryl. I think the first thing that would be fun to do is get to know who's in the room with us a little bit. We have some time. So I would like to just, I've got a gallery of names, and so it may be easier if I just call on you. If you don't have a mic, if you could chat in the type box, we'd love to hear your name and your title and institution, and then your role within ACRL. So you already heard I'm the executive director. So I will call on John Siegel, and you can share with us where you are and tell us what the weather's like. I'm looking at beautiful sunshine, but I'm inside. I've been in a meeting all day, so I haven't been able to enjoy it here in Chicago. So John, what about you?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm in sunny Spartanburg, South Carolina, and it's in the 80s here.
Ooh, I'm jealous.
Yes. And I am the coordinator for information literacy here at the University of South Carolina Upstate. And I am the incoming convener for the Health Sciences Interest Group.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Next on my gallery of folks is John Hickok.
Okay, there, had to unmute. Hi, everybody. John Hickok here, California State University, Fullerton. I am the International Outreach Librarian. And so I will be coming in as the co-convener of the Global Libraries Discussion Group. Oh, sorry, whoops, I got that wrong. It's an interest group. So this is actually new. It just started last year. It's not meant to compete with some of our other, we have two other internationally focused groups, but they serve a little bit different. We have the one discussion group for international students, so instruction and outreach to international students. Then we have another one that's global perspectives, which is just talking about, you know, themes and globalization, internationalization, and thematic. Ray Pun is currently convening that one. But then this new one just arose last year. It kind of meets a different need. This one's global partnerships. And this is where any libraries, librarians in ACRL that have partnerships and would like to you know, have some fellowship with other librarians that also have international partnerships to bounce ideas off of each other. That's specifically what this group is for. So yeah, looking forward to coming in as the new co-convener.
That's great, John. Thank you. And that's interesting to put that in perspective with the other two. And I thought I'd add, and we can go back to John Siegel and give him a chance too. It would be helpful for Cheryl and me to know, is this your first role in ACRL, or have you done some other things? Are you a seasoned expert and you can give advice to the rest of the group? So, I'll add that question, John, if you've been doing other things within ACRL, and if so, where?
Did you want me to start or the
Yeah,
other
John
John?
Hickok, why don't you start and then I'll go back to John Siegel. Yeah, with two Johns, that was not clear. I apologize.
No worries, no worries. I've always been a member of ACRL, but haven't. For the last several years, I've been more active with IRT. I was IRT, International Relations Roundtable, that is. I was chair in 2016 and have been quite active with them. But this opportunity came up to co-convene this group. I was just, a participant, and then the opportunity came up to co-convene. I thought, okay, sure, get back in the game with ACRL.
That's great. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. John Siegel, what else have you been working on in ACRL or ALA?
Well, I've been a member since 2005 in library school, and I was the past convener. It's been a few years, 2014, 15, for the ACRL Universal Accessibility Interest Group.
Huh. Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Linker. I'm a teaching and learning librarian at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I am the incoming convener for the interest group for academic library services for graduate students. We've been active for 2 years now, and I feel like we're starting to pick up some steam. So it's been fun. It's been fun to be part of something new. A few years back, I had a active role with ACRL's Chapters Council. So that was the time that I was most involved in ACRL committee type stuff.
Well, that's great. Glad to have you in your new role, Mark. Jill, what about you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is Jill Power, and I'm a Director of Product Management at Compliance Sheriff. And I stepped in this year as the convener for the Universal Accessibility Interest Group. I was a member last year, and my background is I do have a library degree and worked in various libraries early on in my career. And then I worked at EBSCO, and I got into accessibility and just have a huge passion for it. So ended up moving onto more of the technology side of that. And, just love what I'm doing and excited to be part of this team and excited to learn more because this is my first step in terms of learning how to, be a convener in a group and all of that. And there is quite a bit to navigate. So I thank you so much for the webinar, and all of that has been really helpful, and the resources to be able to go back, because I'm sure as I go forward and start to think about a plan, there's lots of resources there to tap into. So it was very helpful.
Well, good. That's helpful feedback for us. And I'll pause for a moment to say that we hope that this session today will be helpful in the sense that you're meeting each other that have common interests and needs. How do we communicate with each other in our interest groups, our discussion groups and things. So I hope that by, kind of getting to know each other a little bit today, we'll also have this community that we can reach out to online to get some help as you lead your various groups. So I think that takes us to William Ware.
Hi, I am the convener for the Heads of Public Services discussion group. And in the past, I have, looking back, it looks like I've worked on every other ACRL conference. In 2009 in Seattle, and 2013, I co-chaired local arrangements when we were in Indianapolis. And 2017, and I was on the 75th Anniversary Celebration Task Force. And I was a chair for midwinter workshops and annual pre-conferences. I'm not sure you have that committee anymore. And before that, Professional Development Coordinating Committee.
Wow. So you can keep me in line, William. If I forget something, you'll know. You'll know. And I guess we better get you signed up for the 2021 conference committee to keep your every other streak going. Talk to Beth McNeil.
I will. Thanks.
Let's see. Elois, was there anything you wanted to add?
No.
Elois is terrific to work with, so I will add that for her. Sheila. Is Sheila Garcia here? She might have stepped away, so we'll come back to Sheila. Oh, there she is. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. My name is Sheila Garcia. I'm a resident librarian in learning and teaching at the University of Michigan. I will be the incoming convener for the residency interest group.
Oh, that's great, Sheila. And we'll need to keep talking as we work with the Diversity Alliance. You'll want to get to know ACRL staff member Allison Payne, who's our link to the Diversity Alliance as well, to make sure we keep coordinating our initiatives.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Elise Denevent, and then my screen is too small to spell out your whole name. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. I'm Elise Donovan Jones. Let me see if, okay, you can see me.
We can see you now.
Yay!
And hear you. Yay, it's a double.
Let me see. I'm based in Sacramento, California, and I am the assistant director for the Community Virtual Library. And we are based online and in virtual worlds like Second Life, and also in up-and-coming VR platforms. So like Altspace VR, for example. We promote virtual worlds for like as a platform for education and library activities. So that's our big thing, and connecting communities therein. And so I'm the incoming convener for the ACRL Virtual Worlds Interest Group. And I'm new to ACRL, and I have participated, though, in a lot of the Virtual World Interest Group meetings and sessions, just kind of over the past couple of years.
Well, that's great. That's great. I welcome to the this world. I don't know what you, without being snarky, I'm like, what do we call the non-virtual world? I don't want to say the real world because that's not right either. So
yeah, real world / physical world. So
the physical world, I like that. Yeah. Okay, welcome to the physical world side of ACRL. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Oh dear. And it looks like my little gallery of people moves. So did I call Sarah Benson? Did I call on you yet? Because you've jumped up in my line. I see you, but I don't hear you. Maybe you don't have a mic.
I don't think you called her, but she does, according to she does have a mic.
Oh, all right. We see
Sarah,
your mic,
you need
Sarah.
to unmute yourself.
Yeah, right now your mic is showing up muted. There you go.
I'm saying something. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're making sound. I can't quite hear you, so maybe just a little louder, but you're connected now.
Can you hear me?
A little bit.
Okay.
I'll try and listen harder.
I'll try to talk right into the mic. I think it's my mic on my computer. Can you hear me now?
It's very soft. Maybe other people are getting it better than I am.
I don't know.
Let me pause this recording. On the left-hand side of your screen where your mic icon is at, click on the drop-down arrow and go all the way down to the bottom where it says audio settings, and you can adjust your speaker and microphone volume from there.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Elois.
Is that better?
Oh, it's way better. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Benson. I have been a member of the copyright discussion group. This is my second year as co-chair.
last year I was working with Carla Myers, and Carla is stepping down, and so now I'm kind of taking the lead. We have another co-chair this year, but I'm trying to kind of, you know, re-familiarize myself with everything. So I attended this session last year, and I've been kind of relying on Carla a lot, so I'm trying to kind of pick up the reins a little more this year.
That's great. Thank you, Sarah. Let's see. Marina?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you now. I feel like
Hi.
the old Verizon commercials.
I'm on vacation, so I'm home, and that's why I'm trying to, have the video closed. So Marina Morgan, I'm the metadata librarian at Florida Southern College. Prior to coming to the States, I was a cataloging librarian in Canada and in Romania. So my current role will be the incoming convener for the 2019-2020 of the ACRL Technical Services Interest Group.
Very good.
I'm also a member of the Metadata Working Group at the Sunshine State Digital Network. I'm a member of the LITA Planning Committee. Currently the co-vice chair of the Catalog Management Interest Group, the Cataloging and Metadata Management section, and I will be the co-chair after the ALA Annual. I'm also the LITA representative for the LITA Elects Metadata Standards Committee. And I'm very close to Tampa, and it's 90 degrees here.
Ooh, ooh. Well, with all those volunteer opportunities, I can see why you need a vacation day. I'm exhausted just thinking about trying to manage all those things. Thank you for all your service. That's awesome.
My pleasure.
All right. Constance Wade.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
You're a little quiet. If you could just be a little bit louder, but you are connected.
Okay, thank you. So I am going to be an incoming co-convener for the Access Services Interest Group. This is the first time for me, so I'm a newbie. I am currently a Circulation and User Services Librarian at the University of Iowa. However, I am visiting Ann Arbor for a conference, and it's kind of dreary outside, but blue skies are starting to peek through the clouds.
Very good. Amy.
Yes. Hi. Can everybody hear me? All
You're a
right.
little quiet,
Sure.
but you're connected.
Okay, great. So can everybody hear me now? Is that better?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
You're welcome. My name is Amy Dye Reeves, and I work at Murray State University. And my role is Humanities Research and Instruction, and I've been involved with the Appointments Committee with the ACRL. And my role for coming up will be the History Liaison, I guess, History Interest Group, and I'll be the co-convener for that.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Derek is next.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Derek Dolby. I'm at the University of Delaware. I'm in Circulation Reserve and Branch Libraries, and this past year I was an incoming co-convener for the Access Services Interest Group, and upcoming I'll be a co-convener for the Interest Group.
That's great. Thank you. And my gallery of people jumped around a little bit. So I think I got everybody, but if I missed you, please speak up. All right. Looks like we have people. So let me reiterate what Cheryl and I have said, and that really this is your opportunity to ask questions that you may have about managing a group. This is a very experienced group, I can tell by what you've already done. So this may be just like no big deal for you, but we want to make sure that we do what we can to make your experience fun and easy to get done what you want to get done. So I know some of you mentioned you had a chance to go through the video. If there's anything that it suggested a question or something like that, now's the time to drill down. Or if we didn't cover something that you're like, oh, why didn't they tell me the one thing I need to know how to do is X? Now's your opportunity. And between Lois and Cheryl and me, we'll see if we can figure out a good answer for you.
Hi, I've got a question. This is Mark.
Hi, Mark.
So as I was watching the video, I was learning all kinds of stuff that I didn't know before, even though I've got a little bit of experience with ACRL. So I was wondering, is there a place, perhaps a LibGuide or some place where you kind of collected all that great information for us to refer to later?
Yes, I think a couple things. Lois is going to make, well, the recording is available, but then the guide to policies and procedures, maybe Lois, could you paste that link into the guide to policies and procedures, please? We are in the process of moving that to a LibGuide. I'm not sure it's quite done yet. So there are some static web pages where we've tried to organize things by, committees, by board, that sort of thing, and searchable. There are some LibGuides. They tend to be more content focused than ACRL policy focused at the moment, but we're thinking about, as I said, moving things. And if there are topics that you didn't see covered that you think we need to have a little handout on or something, we're open to suggestions.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Elise looks like she has some questions. You can use your mic or you can type them, whichever, Elise.
Awesome. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll paste them in the chat and then I'll also read them, and that way if I get tongue-tied.
We'll all know where you're going.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
So the Virtual World Interest Group holds monthly meetings, and we do have professionals come and give presentations on topics related to virtual worlds, education, librarianship. And the group will have a chance to discuss. And I noticed in the training that it mentioned that ALA and ACRL kind of have first rights of refusal. I think that was the terminology. And I just wanted to be 100% sure that, because right now we're not submitting the topics ahead of time. And I wanted to make sure that if they would be considered webinars and it's something that ACRL would want to see and decide if they wanted to do something first, that I know that I definitely should be submitting it, or if they would. So if you guys could kind of elaborate on exactly, it might be common sense, but exactly what you consider webinars.
Well, I don't know if I have an exact definition, but let me, I think you've got a great question there, and let me address it and say that things are changing all the time. So I'm going to start a little bit further back, but I promise I'll get back to webinars, or if I don't, you hold my feet to the fire to make sure I can get back to webinars. So I'm going to start with a question. How many of you are familiar with ALA's Steering Committee on Organizational Effectiveness and the work that they are doing to consider new models for ALA and its organization? And you can, if it's easier, you can type in the chat box. I don't know that we have a hand raising feature, or if you have video, you can nod. So William's familiar with it. But William, you and Mark and Cheryl and I and the Lois are the only ones with video. So, so John's vaguely.
Yeah, that's a no for me. I haven't.
Okay.
John Hickok.
John Hickok, thank you. It's the Steering Committee on Organizational Effectiveness. Elise, you wanted to know what I was mentioning. And I am going to, why I'm asking you that question first is because ALA is kind of stepping back and has a member committee working on this. And I'm going to paste a huge long message from the chair of the steering committee. It looks like not all of it came through. That talks a little bit about their work. They have been charged with reimagining a new ALA and a new governance structure. And the push right now is really towards centralization. And I really encourage you as leaders of your groups to become familiar with this, because ultimately a new model will be presented to the memberships to vote on. And we'll be counting on you as leaders to explain to your members what this proposal is, and whether or not you think it'll be a good fit for your groups or whether you think it needs to be tweaked. What I've pasted in the chat box are 5 sessions at the annual conference that are going to be held, or I guess mine, Lois pasted it because mine apparently got cut off, that you could go to at annual to hear how the models are rolled out and what you think of those new ideas. So for example, one part of it might be that the number of divisions would shrink. Another idea I heard was that divisions would be standardized across all the associations. So where we have interest groups and discussion groups and sections and committees, they could decide that we are only going to have sections. I'm making this up. Nobody has said that you're going away. But I mean, there is this push to help members better understand what we have. So what does this have to do with Elise's webinar question is that in this drive to centralization, people, ALA would like members to more easily find all of our content, all of our webinars, all of our discussion forums, which is why we ask you to submit them. And the goal is to get them all in the ALA store. So if somebody goes to the ALA store and wants information on virtual worlds, they'll find whatever books ALA has published or ACRL or the discussion forums or you know, at this point, they're not down to the discrete articles on CNRL News or anything like that, but they are trying to get all these webinars in there. Just yesterday, senior management approved a one-year pilot where they're going to devote a half of a person to try and coordinate across the organization pricing for webinars, whether they're available free after it's held, whether they're put in a members only kind of thing. So today, to get back to your original question, I would say that if you're providing content to a member group that others would find helpful, we'd like you to submit that in advance so that it could be put in the new store when that's ready. But right now we could add it to the ACRL page so that somebody searching for it could more easily see the full suite of offerings that ACRL has, thanks to all of your good work. Does that answer your question? And if not, keep pushing. I'll try and get even more specific, because I know I took the long way around to get back to webinars.
Yes, that's very helpful. And so I'll go ahead and I'll submit the topics before we do them, and then you guys will be able to kind of post those as able once the new store is up. And if there's something that you guys want to do, you'll let me know. And
yeah, that would be great. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I suspect if you guys feel like I'm just spamming you, you'll let me know too and say, oh my gosh, no. And so I'm sure that'll be helpful also.
Yeah, I think the goal of ALA is to surface, and I share this goal, let's surface all the great stuff that's out there. I mean, sometimes I remember a number of years ago that I found out that one of our interest groups had a wonderful series of webinars on a topic that was really interesting to our members, and that we were trying to offer some stuff, but because they were so self-sufficient, they did it all on their own. They didn't use any of ACRL communication channels, and so we weren't helping them promote it or being able to sort of claim it under the umbrella of ACRL offerings. So we want to work with you to kind of surface all that good work and make sure it's available to people.
Hey, hi, John Hickok here. I have a question. It's actually kind of echoing Mark's comment, Mark Lenker. If you can put together a lib guide that kind of summarizes all that was on the video, because that video was quite long. It was an hour, almost an hour long. And yes, tons of content. It's all great content, but having to scroll back on the YouTube to time code 39.7 to remember what she said at this point or that point, it'd be so much easier if I could just go straight to a LibGuide and say, that reminds me about using Zoom or whatever question I might have come up. So yeah, I want to echo Mark. If you can point us to a guide that has everything capsulized into one guide, that would be so helpful.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback. Elois, do I have rights to share my screen?
Yes, you do, because I'm not sharing mine now, so you can share yours.
So let me show you what we have at the moment. We're working to improve that, and you may have some topics that you'd like to add. So what we tried to do in that video was get down to an hour. I know an hour is a lot of time in our 140 character world. This guide to policies and procedures, which has 15 chapters. And is you should, hopefully be seeing the table of contents, which is on our website. So we have the foundation documents where we have the bylaws, we have who's on the board, committees of practice. And here, if I'll click on communities of practice, we list out, what do sections get, what do interest groups have in terms of funding, how do sections get formed, how do I have a special event, how do I do publicity. So currently, these are organized a lot by type of group. So we have committees of practice, chapters, and then by function, so budgets, appointments, meetings, what do I do about annual conference programs, that kind of thing. So John, this is our attempt. And if you look through these chapters and have more topics you'd like to suggest or other ways of organizing it, I mean, we're all librarians, right? We can certainly certainly improve organization, I'm sure. And I know that, hey, Lois, aren't you working with Allison on the LibGuide? Have you reorganized some of that already?
Yes, some of this stuff has been migrated, not all of it. It's a work in progress, like the virtual meeting information is currently on LibGuides as well. So we're in the progress of migrating a lot of this totally to LibGuides. And as I stated, some of it is already up there.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you because if this was mentioned in the video, and maybe it was, I'm sorry, maybe I had a disconnect there and I didn't remember this, but this guide to policy and procedures is perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. This covers, it may not cover everything that was in the video, but it covers so many things. So I will definitely acquaint myself with this guide to policies and procedures.
Oh, great. And if you can't find things, let us know, because there may be things we need to add to try and help you. I mean, one of my challenges is this guide was started decades ago, and we've tried to keep it up to date and add things or not, but it becomes a behemoth. It's almost like, oh my gosh, how can we point people to something that's hundreds of pages of content? So, which is why we then have chapters, and then why we have these hour-long videos and things. And we're looking at other ways we can quickly get just how to do things, whether they're short videos or things. So if there are topics that you think are particularly pressing, let us know, and we can see whether there's other ways. I mean, we've tried tip sheets in the past. There's like so much stuff that we don't want to overwhelm people, but we also want to make sure it's easy for you to find what you need to do.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And as the past president, I would say that the staff were invaluable to me when I was, some of the information is, it's very organized, but sometimes it's hard to dig out. So I would encourage you, if you do have questions, to ask the question. And I've always just gotten wonderful help from the staff. So we can usually help with whatever you need to run your group well.
Yes, thank you. That's a great point. For interest groups and discussion groups, we are in the process of hiring for your staff liaison. That position was vacated. So as soon as we are able to make a hire, we will let you know who that is. But in the meantime, Megan Griffin is your staff liaison, and she was unable to be here for this particular session. So Cheryl and I are doing our best to try and get all of Megan's knowledge into our head. But Cheryl, I can't reiterate enough your point that, ask the question, and Megan will facilitate you getting stuff done. And if it's something new, she'll come to me and we'll brainstorm and we'll figure out a way to help with your question.
This is Eloise. I wanted to say that, as I stated, it is a work in progress because we're trying to make it more cohesive, simplify the LibGuides. So we want to make sure that once we have all this information compiled together, it's more simple, it's easier to flow and follow. So bear with us. It will be, as I stated, it's a work in progress, but it is in progress.
And thank you, Elise, for sharing your notes. Any other questions or suggestions? Do those of you that you've been around a while, do you have some other tips? Cheryl had a tip to reach out to the staff and ask, which is great. That's why we're here. Are there other tips you have from working with other ALA or ACRL groups that will help your colleagues manage their meetings or manage their groups. I have two while you're thinking. One would be, and I know your groups are more informal, but as leaders, I think one of your challenges is to build a community, whether it's a virtual or a face-to-face community. We want people to feel good about belonging to the organization. It's a lot of work to volunteer to lead, but I always say if you're not having fun too, then what's the point? Why would you torture yourself in your free time? Here's Marina giving up a vacation day to learn about how to do stuff at ACRL, but hopefully there are fun parts of that, rewarding parts of that work. And then the second thing would be to sort of know what you're trying to get done. Work with your community to decide what are we trying to accomplish this year. Is our, discussion groups really their main purpose is to get together and share ideas, sort of like before there were discussion lists or Facebook communities or whatever, LinkedIn communities. It was a way that people could say, hey, here's another access services librarian I can talk to and see how they're solving their problems in Delaware versus in UNLV kind of thing. Or but now you might be holding, as I think it was Elise said, monthly conversations, monthly topics of discussion. So maybe you want to set a goal. We want to have, 6 discussion forums this year, or we want to have a session at midwinter and a session at annual. But I find, and I will confess, I am a big to-do list person. I like writing things down and checking them off, and my little endorphins get very happy when I've completed things. But if you start at the beginning of the year knowing what you're trying to get done with your group and you've got their buy-in, then you'll get to the end of next year and go, look at what we got done. And I think that for me, that's a really good feeling. Like I moved the needle, I moved the organization forward, I moved my community forward. So those would be, 2 of my tips.
Do you have any examples to look at, how a typical group, would run their team, their community, as sort of a guideline? Is it, 2 big sessions a year, virtual conferences, and then just discussions? Or, do you do surveys sometime at the beginning of the year to see what people are looking to learn that year, or what they would like to cover? Or do you do that within the discussions, like you said?
I think those are all good ideas, and I am going to step back because I have not served as a member of an interest group or discussion group. But I think any of the things you suggested are good. Some way to reach out to your community so that you're developing what they want to hear. Is there anyone here who has some suggestions of things they've done to kind of figure out? I mean, a committee is a little bit different because you have a charge and you know exactly what you have to do, but then you still have to figure out how you're going to get there. But these interest groups and discussion groups are much more kind of amorphous. You can kind of make them what you want in terms of meeting the needs of the group.
And what people found were good to do that. Sort of like I said, this is the first group I've led, so I didn't know, at the start, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should do a survey, but just to kind of get a feel for what people are expecting to get out of the group and what they'd like to do for the year. So is there any other suggestion of anybody out there who's, just starting into a new group maybe and want to get a feel for the overall goals of the group and what they're looking to accomplish?
Could I chime in?
Please, this is open discussion.
Okay. This is Mark from UNLV. Something we did, we had a meeting at annual where we gave people the opportunity to give short 10-minute presentations. So it's kind of a lightning round of presentations. And at the end of that, once everybody had their thoughts going, we did a little paper survey to ask, what they wanted to talk about in the future. And yeah, we got some ideas and we're able to plan a virtual meeting or kind of information sharing session based on that. So yeah, kind of always asking, and the ways you talked about sounded really like productive ways to go.
You know, I think, and if we were sort of teasing Elois a bit, but if it wasn't clear, Elois is the person that you work with to schedule your virtual meetings, and depending on the size of your group, I think a Zoom meeting like this is a nice way to get to know people, particularly if you're not doing any face-to-face work. I know our instruction section has gone all virtual, so they don't do any face-to-face. And so we have these resources that you can book at no cost to you, and then you could have, for example, a couple of facilitated conversations. If you want to do something in addition to a survey, you could say, I'm holding a virtual meeting on the 1st, the 15th, and the 30th of the month. Come and give me your ideas, or that kind of thing. Again, Lois can tell you how to schedule those meetings if you'd like. She has a good link to how to do that. Does anybody have any questions about how to schedule a virtual meeting, or do you all know? Or would you like Lois to walk you through that? She did that yesterday for some of the sections who didn't know how to do it.
I think, yeah, if that's Marina Morgan. Yes, if Eloise can talk about it, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Elois, you're muted.
Yeah.
Sure am. How about that?
Even the expert slips once in a while. It happens to all of us.
I put the link in the chat box where you'll need to go to actually schedule a virtual meeting, and then I will walk you through what you need to do to actually do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, does everybody see that? Following the link that I put in the chat box, the link will take you here where you'll have the option to either schedule your meeting in Adobe Connect or Zoom. Adobe Connect has the capacity to hold up to 99 participants, and Zoom can hold up to 99 participants. Once you click on the link, what it will do is it will take you to the first available date that you are able to schedule a meeting. If you see something in red, that's an indication that the meeting has already, that particular spot has already been taken by someone. Anything in green, you have the liberty to schedule your meetings. To the left, you'll see where there is a calendar. If you don't want to schedule a meeting on June the 5th, you simply go to the date you actually want to schedule your meeting and click on that date in the calendar. You see June 19 have all spots are green, which means nothing has been scheduled at this particular time for June 19th. So you simply go to the meeting you want, either Adobe Connect or Zoom, click on the time, and it will turn from green to gold. Once you do that, you're going to scroll down and click on the continue button. Once you click on continue, you're going to enter your first name, your last name, your email, and then the drop down the unit type. And for the sake of this meeting, it will either be an interest group or a discussion group. Once you select that, we need to know your unit name. If you're the health sciences interest group, then you need to put that in where it says unit name. The meeting title, put in the title exactly the way you desire it to be represented once the meeting has been scheduled. Your estimated number of attendees, it does not have to be a concrete number. It can be your best guess. And then what type of meeting are you requesting? Is it a committee meeting? Is it a discussion forum? And of course, if it's a practice session, you would have to already have actually asked for a meeting. Once you do that, we need to know your learning outcomes, if it's applicable, your target audience, and then if it's a discussion forum and you're going to have presenters, we need to know the presenters' names, their university or organization type, and then their email address, because if it's going to be a discussion forum, which is usually a big meeting about a specific topic, and you're having speakers in, we need to send them speaker agreements to authorize them to release the recording. Once you fill in all this information, you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and you will click on Submit My Booking. Once you do that, I will get an email in regards to your request and I will schedule your meeting accordingly. But let me back up in regards to presenter information because I didn't say this yesterday. This is especially important if you're having a discussion forum and your meeting requires registration. Please make sure all of your presenters, your moderators, and your speakers actually register for the meeting. There have been occasions where we've gotten into the room and unfortunately individuals did not have their speakers to register, and we either have to move that meeting if it's in Adobe Connect, which can only hold up to 99 people. If the room is closed because the registration limit has been reached, we'll have to move that meeting. So it's very important once the link is sent to you, especially if your meeting requires registration, you want to make sure that all your speakers and moderators have actually registered for your meeting. Does anybody have any questions before I move on from here? And another thing I want to bring up, if you go to the far left-hand corner, you see where it says virtual meeting guidelines. You can click on this and it will take you to the LibCal and it'll give you detailed information about the differences between Adobe Connect and Zoom. What you need to do, some tutorials, how you can connect, and specific meeting tips.
Eloise, thank you so much. This is wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Lois. So I know it's a mess. I posted the timeline for the SCOE review and restructure. And I would encourage you, if you haven't already, make sure you go into your ALA Connect space and turn on your email notifications for all ALA members and for all ACRL members. Lessa, the chair of the committee, has been pushing out the information about this through ALA Connect. There's also a SCOE group that you can join. Right now, out of 55,000 members, there's only 128 that have joined the group, and I'm one of them. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you have a voice in what you want your association to be for you. I know it's very easy to, at least I'll speak for myself, it's easy to get in my niche and think I'm focusing on this, I'm focusing what I'm doing, and you know the other part can just do whatever it wants. But this part over here is going to make decisions that will affect the other parts. And so it's important that each of you have a voice to make sure that ALA is the organization that is going to best serve your needs and your roles. So do check your ALA Connect kind of things. Oh, the future, oh, let's see. The future of midwinter, yes. And yes, Elois, thank you for the reminder. I should mention Leadership Council too. So why don't we do that first? Could you put that slide up, please, Elois, about Leadership Council at Annual with the dates and times. At Annual and Midwinter, but I'll talk about Midwinter in a moment, we have traditionally had a social and a meeting that all the leaders of groups like committees and sections chairs and interest group chairs, discussion group chairs are invited. And we use that time to listen to what you need ACRL to do for you. We've updated a strategic plan there. Based on your feedback and working with the board added a core commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion this year. And so continuing on that theme at the Leadership Council in the summer, it's Friday afternoon, and we'll start with a luncheon at the Washington Hilton from 12:30 to 1:30. And then the Leadership Council meeting is going to have, it's going to be a combination membership meeting, so there'll be brief updates from the officers on ACRL initiatives. And then there will be an hour session facilitated by Ann Phibbs, who is an EDI strategic consultant. And we've asked her to talk about some issues such as microaggressions and unintentional bias, and I think maybe privilege. I'm sorry, I don't recall the exact topics, but we're going to spend an hour on some EDI work, and then we're going to have the consultants and the leaders from SCOE come and spend the second hour with us so that we can hear firsthand what their new models are. Now, SCOE is focusing on the organization and kind of membership and governance models because there's been some members that say we're too complicated, it's too hard to find things, why are there 11 divisions, why are there 12 boards, that kind of thing. So this is a group focused on that. Separately, ALA Executive Director has been interested in redoing the midwinter meeting. And the ACRL board will be talking about that too. I'm actually going to a staff meeting tomorrow led by Conference Services to hear what their ideas are about it. What the spring ALA board got was that the new event, the non-midwinter, would be focused on leadership, youth media, and book awards. And I want to say one other thing. Do you remember, Cheryl, what it is? It seems like they had 3 streams.
Oh.
Future youth, maybe it's future youth and book awards.
I think that was it because it had to do with the publishers.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I know it's like trying to name the 7 dwarves. Whenever I have to name a list of something, it's hard to remember all of them. So the idea would be that there would be fewer governance meetings and that those meetings would be limited to Friday and Monday, and that Saturday and Sunday would be programming on those topics. What's not been clear to me is who's going to be responsible for the programming, who's going to create the content. Some of it is there because the Youth Media Awards do a big press release because this is when the Newbery Caldecott Awards get announced, Coretta Scott King Awards. Publishers are interested in working with librarians, I suspect, although I'll use you as my focus group of 12, that a lot of the publisher kind of relationships are more apt in the public library in terms of the books that the trade publishers want to get out. That as academics, our work is more with the big publishers of the serials who are less interested in trying to, we're not doing awards in that same kind of way. So the ACRL board, and you can give us your feedback now, and Cheryl and I can take it back to them. Just you can give us your own opinion. We're considering what to do about midwinter 2020. Should the ACRL board continue to meet as usual, which we have some board members who have difficulty getting away for that long because we start Friday morning at 8 o'clock and we don't end Monday until 4:30. So they have meetings throughout the weekend. Sunday is pretty much an open day for the ACRL board. But the idea that some members are concerned that if there's only meetings on Friday and meetings on Monday and the content is around publishing and youth media awards and leadership development, that's 2 days of hanging around that maybe they don't want to pay for all those extra nights if they don't feel the content is particularly appropriate. That program could change or not. But anyway, the board is considering whether to do some kind of a hybrid event if the board goes at all to midwinter. So we're going to launch in a few days. There's been a little delay because we're waiting to get the final proposal from ALA so that I can link to their proposal rather than give you a brief description and ask member leaders like you, would you come to midwinter? Like, why do you go to midwinter if you go? Are you going to come to Leadership Council? Are you coming to have a face-to-face meeting with your group? Are you coming because you're on so many other things, as Marina and some of the rest of you listed, that you're going to their meetings anyway? But if ACRL wasn't there, would you decide not to come? So you can unmute your mics, you can type in the chat box, but I'd love to hear your different opinions about why you go to midwinter and whether ACRL needs to provide work for you there, or if the committees were limited the way I just described, you would find it less attractive to go.
Hi, I'll chime in. There's been some interest among members of my interest group in replacing our traditional midwinter activities with something virtual anyway. And yeah, I kind of agree with the concerns you laid out that if business meetings can only be Friday and Monday, that could be a problem. So if ACRL wanted to do some sort of program or host a forum like one I described earlier where different people would have an opportunity to present in a quick hour-long session, where would that fall in the new model?
I don't know. I mean, it might be that ALA Conference Services would entertain program proposals like that. That's some of the details that I haven't been given in terms
Sure.
of how the content is going to come out. And I think those are some of the details I have to do. And Amy, thank you, as well as Mark. You know, one thing the board might want to do is go to a virtual midwinter and then a face-to-face at annual, and just encourage anybody that wants to go to the meeting at midwinter, not discourage them from doing it. But, you know, I think the push of this new event in January is to recognize that more groups are meeting virtually anyway, and that you don't need to have a face-to-face for all your meetings to accomplish things. So should there be content? So it would be like a whole new conference based on those three themes. And I guess I just, with so many conferences available, particularly to academic libraries, you know, we can go to conferences, name a topic, and there's probably a whole nother association or conference devoted to that topic, that I just didn't know whether this new event would be compelling to academic librarians.
Mary Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
William. So a few years ago, I was active in RUSA in the reference services section, and they made the decision, I think, not RUSA as a whole, but our section and maybe others, to not attend midwinter, and we would go virtual. Well, my involvement ended as well.
Okay.
And not intentionally, but yeah, there wasn't a reason to go. And the all committee meeting was Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and it's of course a conflict with lots of other things. So yeah, it's a little troubling as people say we can meet virtually and make that shift, because then you are in fact taking away the reasons why I would attend. And it's like, I like to attend. I get things, of course I get a lot out of it that has nothing to do with what's going on the schedule. And so if that piece goes away, then so does attendance. And then ultimately, what's the outcome for something like midwinter or whatever it's going to be called? You know, if it shrinks. So I just think about, we need to think about long-term consequences of shifting. I mean, clearly virtual meetings have gotten better, mostly because of this tool we're using right now. The other versions have not worked as well as this one. I'm on Zoom like 5 times a week, and you know, it works fabulously, but it's still challenging. I go to a meeting where there are about 20 of us, and it's still challenging. People interrupt each other, and we have sound problems, and you know, we forget to unmute, and the whole works. It's not the same as being in a room, and just never quite will be. I don't think.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I want to pause for a moment. I see there were some comments in the chat box. I want to respect your time. It's 2 o'clock. I have another 10 minutes that I could stay and hear your comments, and I'm happy to do that. But I know many of you might have another meeting you're running off to, or don't have the time to stay. So I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your leadership. Cheryl and Elois and I are available for emails or consultations, or, you know, to give us your thoughts. You know, just to quickly respond, William, I think one of the reasons the board was thinking about this is what we have heard from a number of members is one conference a year is what my budget can afford. So I don't want to do midwinter, the ACRL conference, and annual. 3 conferences in 6 months is a budget buster for a lot of people. And so I think some of the thinking has been, okay, then maybe we do a virtual midwinter and do the face-to-face annual. But
yeah, this is Marina. That's what I wanted to say. I mean, I am lucky enough, you know, my institution, you know, provides funding for me to go to both the annual and the midwinter, but I've heard colleagues that they cannot afford to go to the midwinter as well. And also for the leadership meeting, we have to take into account that you know, some of these meetings may be during the pre-conference or when, you know, people are not coming a day before, they're coming the day of. So it's about the budget.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you bring up a good point, and I will let you know, I'm trying to work with the presenters to get content before the Leadership Council so that I can send that out to you. So that if you're not meeting at annual, or if there are people that can't come, you could send out some of the information that we're going to have at the Leadership Council and share it that way. Elois has reminded me that we'd love to have your evaluation of the leadership orientation. And Elois, if you can paste that in the chat box. Yes, there it is. Thank you very much. please give us your feedback so we can make it better for the next group of people.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
And will the recording be shared as well?
Yes, it will, as soon as it's available.
Thank you very much. Pleasure
You're
meeting
welcome.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. And thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Lois. And John, I see your comments about awards. A lot of the awards go to the annual, I think, and a lot of the award committees have been virtual, but we'll see. I'll pass it all along. Thanks for all your comments, Mark. Appreciate it. It's always good to have an active participant. All right. Have a good day.